Hey, greetings, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carp's Corner Conversations here on Facebook Live. I am super excited for tonight's session. Been a while since I've been on, so I thought, Carp, it's time to get back having some conversations with some cool people out there in the world of real estate and life, because I've had people on that aren't real estate agents, but excited to be on tonight, having a conversation about the market, what's going on, some of the rising stars that I see doing some cool things in this business. If you are on with us tonight, leave me a comment so I know some people are out there in the live stream. You're in for an amazing treat with people, because this is going to be a fun one. We are going to be, let me see, I want to make sure I'm live here. So edit privacy, got to make it public there. There we go. Now we should be out there on the social streams. We'll get some people to join us before I bring my guest on. Guys, the market is crazy right now. It's March 2nd. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of kind of the world stopping with COVID pandemic. Hopefully everyone, wherever you're at, safe and healthy. But listen, it's been a crazy 12 months, and this year has started out crazy. The market is challenging, I think it's fair to say, but there's lots of opportunities. All we need right now are a few more listings, a few more ready, willing, able buyers, and a few more just opportunities to build relationships and solve problems and have fun. And so we're going to do that today on Carp's Corner Conversations. Going to have some fun tonight. Listen, guys, March is Women's History Month. So I made this decision after I got this amazing guest tonight that we're going to make this into Carp's Corner Conversations in the month of March. And we're going to focus on some Coldwell Banker power women each week. I'll introduce who else is coming on, but let me bring on tonight's guest, my friend Katie Day down in Houston, Texas. What's up, girl?
What's going on? How are you?
I'm really good. Thanks so much for jumping on with me today. Hopefully we'll get some people here to throw some comments into the stream here so we can make sure it's working. We'll get a few here, hopefully in a second. I got to make sure we're live, because StreamYard it throws it off, and it edits the post to be a private session. It's got to be public for the post to show up. So if anyone's out there listening, if you can throw a couple comments in the chat so I know you're here to talk to Katie. Katie, what's going on? You've had a busy day today. You've jumped from one social connection to camera, and now you're on with me.
Yeah, it has been a very busy day. That's most days in real estate right now in this market. So I was just trying to see if I could ping some people on to drop comments as well. But yeah, it's been an interesting day. But yeah, wouldn't trade it for anything else.
I tell people all the time, especially the new agents that I work with and training and coaching, is the cool thing about real estate is it's different every day. But the bad thing about real estate is what, Katie?
It's different every day.
And so
you make your own schedule.
Literally, you don't know what you're going to get each day. And so it's really important that you set your own schedule. We'll talk about that now that you've been kind of in the business for a while, how important it is to kind of control your schedule. You are busy, my friend. I mean, you're killing it out there in the business. You're killing it out there on the social streams. You're definitely what I would call a rising star. Take the word rising out of there. You're a star in our business, but I think a lot of people are going to get a chance to know who you are. This year, 2021, is the year of Katie Day. What's going on? Let me just say, how's your year starting off so far?
It has been it's gone really well so far. So, we're extremely grateful to have stayed busy in real estate, and extremely grateful that, our clients, continue to work with us. And it's been, we really weren't sure this time last year when, COVID was hitting and we were kind of hearing rumbles of lockdowns in other cities and states and things like that. We really weren't sure what was going to happen. So the first thing we did was open up our bank accounts and counted up our money and, figure out how many months we'd be good for, because we weren't sure what was going to happen. So we were super fortunate that, Houston and Texas deemed real estate essential pretty quickly. We worked through 2020, interest rates were low. So it's been a wild ride. And we're extremely grateful to have stayed healthy and, being able to continue to serve our clients.
Katie, give people an idea of where you're coming to us live from today, a little bit about kind of where you're at, and then we'll backtrack to get there.
Okay. Well, I am sitting in my office at home. No, I'm in Houston, Texas. So I live just outside of downtown Houston. And I have a small team. So we service the greater Houston area. So if you know Houston, it's basically the inner loop. And then we service all of the major suburbs. And we've been fortunate as we've continued to grow that we seem to attract people that live further away from us. So we have people, you know, as we continue to grow, that live in Northwest Houston, that live in Southwest Houston, and in different parts of town. So it's been able to kind of increase our service area, which has been kind of cool.
I think you guys jump between you and Phoenix kind of as the 4th and 5th largest market in the country. Where you guys stand right now?
So we're 4th. I mean, I think we're coming for 3rd, but you know, we'll see.
Chicago Katie Day and the team's coming for you.
You know, mark my words. Tell Dawn McKenna to watch out up there.
There you go. One of our rising stars up there in Chicagoland, no doubt about that. So guys, if you're watching this, I see Bill Risser's jumping on with us in St. Pete. Let us know where you're watching from. Katie, let Katie know who's out there listening. Katie, let's go back to the beginning. Looking at your bio, I think you were born in Maryland. Is that right?
I was actually not born in Maryland.
You weren't?
I grew up in Maryland.
That's where you're born.
I was born in South Korea, actually.
Okay.
So I was born in South Korea. I was adopted when I was 4 months old. So we're going to go all the way back. So I grew up in Maryland, lived there for the first 18 years of my life. But yeah.
Wow. So you don't really remember South Korea?
Not a ton. No, it was a very short period of time, you know, had nothing to do with my age, but, you know, just a very short period of time. So it wasn't that memorable for me.
Okay. But you were adopted by a couple in, you know, obviously parents in Maryland.
Yep.
What part of Maryland and what do you remember about your youth?
So I grew up in Frederick, which is a suburb of DC. You know, growing up, I was always very busy, which kind of explains, you know, my life today and how I am. So I always played sports year round. My brother played sports, so I always wanted to do everything he did. And as soon as I could get a job, I had a job. In high school, I had multiple jobs. You know, I was, but yeah, I mean, I was always busy. I mean, you can ask my parents; they're driving me everywhere.
So were you part of a big family? Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so I have an older brother. He is 6 or 7 years older than me, depending on the time of year. And that's just my one sibling.
Okay. Was he adopted as well?
He was not. No.
He's not. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And what does he do these days?
He is an attorney. So he's an attorney in Maryland and DC. He and his wife and their absolutely adorable 2-year-old son live in DC, and they're both attorneys.
Aunt Katie. Love it, huh?
Yeah.
Do you spoil your nephew?
Yeah, it's they live in DC, so they live in like a super small house, you know, right? It's like a row house, so it's as wide as this room is, you know. And their home is covered in toys, yet like I'll just go on Amazon and send things to their house all the time. So yeah, we'll see.
You like that. Katie, what'd your parents do?
So my dad he worked in finance for the government. And then my mom worked at home, and then she went back to work once we were older, and she worked in the school system.
Okay, good. What'd you want to be when you grew up? Can you think back to when you were little and what you wanted to be?
Yeah. So for a while I wanted to be a lawyer, and then I realized that wasn't what you saw on TV. Right. So like I always liked all of the law shows and, you know, solving crimes and mysteries and things like that. But then, you know, I realized that being a lawyer was like sitting in a room and reading a lot, and not really like, you know, the crazy, you know, law action that you see on TV. So I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. I wasn't really enamored by like sitting in an office all day long. So yeah, I think that was probably like the one job that was my main one for a while.
Now tell us what law shows were you watching, just to get an idea of your time frame.
I mean, I guess like Law and Order was one, right? Like, I mean, that's been around for so long. And then this is going to probably make a lot of people judge me a little bit, but like Legally Blonde was a movie.
Sure.
That like, you know, really made law school seem like it was something that I wanted to do. And then again, I realized that it was a movie, and that's not actually how life goes.
So high school Katie, were you an athlete? Were you in the band, cheerleader, nerd? Which one were you?
All of the above. No, I wasn't great at school in high school. Like I wasn't, I mean, I got good grades. I think I graduated with like a 3.5 GPA or something like that. But like, I didn't, I love Elwoods. Thank you, Amy. I love Elwoods too. Yeah, I wasn't great at school. I just in the fact that it, like, if it didn't interest me, I wasn't all in, you know, so I would like go, cause obviously you have to go to high school. You have to go to class.
Sure.
But I played sports. So I played basketball, soccer, and lacrosse. You know, I worked. And then, you know, I really liked history. I took Spanish all 4 years of high school. Can't speak it now, which, you know, really clearly paid off for me. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I was like an average kid.
So growing up in the DMV, I guess, as you call it, in, you know, what year, well, we won't bring up years, but did you watch, were they still the Bullets back then, or were they just early the Wizards?
It was the Wizards.
Wizards.
They were the Wizards. Yeah.
Okay. So do you follow sports in your town? I mean, you got the DC United, you got the Wizards, you got a lot of colleges right around there. Did you have a sports team that you kind of followed as a kid?
Yeah. So my dad and brother both went to University of Maryland, College Park. So, you know, we were Terrapins fans in our household. We were Redskins fans, now to be, you know, the Washington football team. So, you know, I still carry that allegiance. I feel like I don't follow it as much as I did back then. You know, and now obviously I don't take any allegiances to any of the Houston teams, but it's always nice to see your home teams win, you know, when you're living in a city, because everyone's in a better mood and all that. So yeah, Terrapins, Redskins, that's about it.
Okay.
Basketball and football for me.
HTTR rolls off your tongue so much easier than HTTWFT, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know, yeah.
Do you still know the fight song? You remember their fight song?
The Redskins?
Yeah.
Are you gonna ask me to sing it?
No, I just wondered if you remember it though. You remember?
Yeah, I think so.
Because they kind of had that band that sat in the end zone, you know, behind the Hogs, and yeah. So let's go. Let's fast forward. You decide to go off to college.
Yeah.
You end up at University of Tampa, private school in Tampa, different from USF. A lot of people think it's the same school.
It is not the same
different.
school.
USF, big state school. I think that one of the biggest state schools in the state of Florida. And University of Tampa, private school in Tampa.
Yep.
Why Tampa? How'd you end up there?
Yeah. So my parents actually retired when I graduated from high school. So they were moving to Florida, as you do when you retire, right? And they wanted me to go to school in Florida. So I applied basically to colleges from Maryland down to Florida and kind of, you know, up and down the East Coast. And I wanted to be a good kid, I guess. I don't know. So I you know, went to school in Florida, and I wanted to go to a smaller school. I went to a little bit bigger of a high school. We had about 400 people in our graduating class. So, you know, it's a bigger school. I wanted to be, you know, in smaller classes. University of Tampa had a gorgeous pool. It was super close to the beach. The campus,
the high school kid would love, right?
Yeah, you know, the campus was gorgeous. The campus is gorgeous. It's right on the water. Like, so, you know, University of Tampa had a lot going for it as compared to, I'm trying to think of where else I applied. University of Florida in Gainesville and, yeah, you know, and USF as well. But like both of those are very large schools. So, and University of Tampa, I should have led with this, has a fantastic business school. And I was just going to school for business. So I was like, I might as well pick the one with a good business school.
Good. And so you studied business or just a general business?
Yeah. So I got a degree in management because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't, you know, I was lost. So I just got a business degree. Figured I could, you know, apply that anywhere. And
were you a good student? 4 years in and out?
Yeah, I actually graduated in 3 years.
You were a better student. Katie, I went to University of Florida twice as long as you. I was a good attendee. I was not a good student, but I was a good beneficiary of the Gainesville lifestyle. And,
you know,
had a blast.
I've been to Gainesville a few times, and I could see how that might happen.
You're not quite Doogie Howser, but you finished in 3 years. You were obviously you took that seriously. So how did you end up in Houston? What brought you from Tampa to Houston?
Yeah. So when I graduated from college, I got into property management. So the company that I worked for, what we did is we hired college graduates, we put them through a manager and training program, and basically plopped them down at apartment communities across basically, the eastern part of the country. So I worked in property management directly out of college. They gave me a lot of responsibility really quickly, which was irresponsible on their part, but great for me, and I got to learn a lot about how to run a business and how to, manage people and things like that. And went to a couple different companies, but basically a company called me that I knew, the leadership at, and they were like, hey, do you want to come work for us? And do you want to move to Houston? And I was like, I know a couple people there, I guess so. So I moved. I picked up and moved.
As a young girl, was that intimidating? Was it scary? Were you looking forward to the opportunity?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was super scary. Like, I didn't really know anyone, but at the time I was living in Birmingham. So I figured, Birmingham, Alabama versus Houston, Texas.
Sure.
Houston seemed like it would be, a little bit more fun. I knew two people that lived here. And I figured I liked them, so I could make some friends outside of that. But I'd figure it out. And if I didn't like it, I figured I knew they had other communities, so I could move somewhere else, or kind of figure it out. So yeah, I mean, it was scary, but most changes.
Okay, let me ask you this: when you got to Houston, was there anything that you kind of had in your mind that Houston was going to be like? That as soon as you got there, you're like, oh man, I totally missed this part of it.
So I still remember, I think the biggest thing that was crazy for me was when I was driving in, coming in off of I-10 into Houston, you see the skyline. Mm-hmm. And I had never really seen like a city, like, I mean, obviously DC, but like DC, like isn't, you have all the monuments and you have all this stuff, but like, Orlando, Tampa, like all of these other places I lived, like didn't have like this like commanding skyline. I remember driving in and like my GPS saying that I was 0.5 miles from my destination, which is where I was going to be living. And I was like staring at this skyline and I was just like, holy crap, like I'm living in a huge city.
Yeah.
And that was like the moment where I was like, oh geez, like this is a huge move. Like, I can't, what am I doing? And at that point, I was obviously driving into Texas. So like I had no other choice, but, that was a moment that I was like, I didn't realize like what a big city it was. I didn't really do any research. I was just accepted the offer and picked my apartment and moved. So I didn't really know what to expect. So the big city definitely surprised me. Houston has an absolutely amazing food scene. It also has a fantastic happy hour scene. So like for, I guess I was 20 and change when I moved here, right? Like, so for, a 20, I don't even remember now, 23, 24 when I moved here, like to be able to go to happy hour every night and like have dinner and drinks for like $30 or less was like the coolest thing ever, So, I just didn't really know like what a diverse city it was, what great food there was. It just, there's Houston has so much to offer, that, I didn't know. So
it's not just a big city like skyline and the downtown area, but it's a big city sprawling. Like, give us an idea, Katie, from one side of your greater Houston marketplace to the other. I mean, are you talking 70 miles? Are you talking, I mean, because 70 miles could be, the distance and the time are two different things.
Yeah. So let me Google this because there's like the highways that go around Houston. So if you look at Houston on an aerial map, we have like 610, we have Beltway 8, and then we have 99. Those are our three major like highway systems. And
yeah, because I mean, because the Woodlands, people think it's a suburb of a neighborhood of Houston, and it is, but it's a good 40 minutes from downtown, right? I mean, it's
yeah. So so the Houston 610 highway is a 42-mile loop around the city.
42 miles, okay.
And then I think Beltway 8,
which is the next ring out, right?
Which is the next one, yeah. Is 88 miles. And then 99 is, it's not complete yet, but I think that that's going to be 170-mile loop.
Wow. See,
those are like the 3 loops that encompass.
Here's one of your H-Town boys, Ryan Bowcross, said 900 plus square. Wow, that's massive.
Ryan's always been better at math than I have.
You're right. But Ryan didn't graduate in 3 years.
Didn't need math to do that. I just had to get the
that's awesome. So,
get the credit hours.
But as a kind of a Houston person now who sells the city to potential relocation clients, you love it there, don't you?
Yeah. No, I mean, I never know where life's going to take me, right? But I don't see us leaving Houston, I wouldn't say forever, but like, I really don't see us leaving Houston anywhere in the near future.
Okay. Awesome. That's super cool. So while you're in Houston, I think you were working another career. You got your MBA at Houston Baptist. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me about the decision to go back and get your MBA.
So I go through these phases in life where I get like a little like antsy, I guess could be a good word to describe it, where I'm like, okay, I want to do something to challenge myself. So I don't know why, but I was like, I'm going to take the GMAT. And like, so I just like decided to like get a book and start studying, and I took it. And I didn't score great. Like I don't even remember honestly like what the scoring is for it, but like I scored okay. And I was just like, all right, I'll just continue working and kind of doing my thing and whatever. And then, obviously, like, as you know, like when you sign up for real estate school or when you sign up for whatever, people get that information and then start mailing you and emailing you information about their programs or their this or their that. So basically me taking that test then started registering me with grad schools that are then contacting me to go there. And basically Houston Baptist was running like a special where they were like, if you have this score, then you could submit a free application to see if you'd qualify for our program. So I was bored at work one day and I was like, oh, I'll fill this out. Why not? Right. And then like I get the email or the letter or whatever it was. It's like, you've been accepted. And I was like, I wasn't really planning on doing this. So it kind of all happened a little bit like by chance. But it was like a very cool experience. It was one of the most memorable things that I've done. I met a lot of really cool people, made really great connections. I learned a lot. And the cool thing too with Houston Baptist at the time is they also did an international trip for the MBA program. So before graduation, our class went to India and Dubai and met business owners and expats and stuff like that in India and Dubai. We also got to sightsee, and that was like the coolest experience, one of the coolest experiences I've had.
Katie, do you think if the school wouldn't have happened so almost serendipitously that you would have actually pursued it? I mean,
no, like I felt that my scores were too low, like, cause if you think Texas, you think like UT and like all these. So I was like looking up UT and like, cause they have a Houston program to see like what their scores were. And I didn't qualify. So I was like, pipe dream, whatever, no big deal. So I was just kind of, had written it off. And then I started to get all of the emails from all of the schools, and the one that was just like free application fee. So, try this out.
I'm going to segue this conversation into real estate here.
Yeah.
Why do you think education is so important? I mean, you went to a, you graduated from high school, you went to a, private school in Tampa, finished in 3 years. So, and then you get your master's, in business almost for something to do at work, but education is clearly important to you. So before we get into all the designations you have in real estate, before we get into like your real estate career, why do you think education is so important to you? Is it the way you were raised? Is it your parents?
It's weird though, because like, as I said before, like I wasn't the best student in high school, like, and even, my parents would kill me for saying this. Like, I didn't even know if I wanted to go to college, but they were like, that's not an option. You're going to college, and I was like, but if I could go and I could make money, why do I need education? Like, we're paying for it. You're going, just do it. Right. So, I think, and especially now, and obviously like, you've mentioned the designations and all that. Like, I think that it's important, when, at least on the real estate side of things, like I think that it's important to stay educated in order to be able to serve your clients to the best of your ability. I think for me, previously, I didn't really have like a purpose of getting education. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, like, for the MBA, like my company paid for half of it, the company I was with at the time, so it was like, oh, well, if I can get this for X thousands of dollars, this would be something that would be like really cool because I'm antsy and I want to do something with my time and I want to stay busy. Like this would be something that would be cool to do. Right. Now with real estate and designations for me, it's important for me to understand like all the different viewpoints and, things that go into real estate, so those designations and certifications and understanding, different negotiation skills or different ways to serve buyers or different ways to serve your sellers is something that like is a service that I should be doing for my clients. Right.
Yeah. So take us into real estate. So at what point was it sitting at work one day and you thought, I'm just going to go on Zillow. I'm just going to start looking up real estate school. I'm going to see if I can get my real estate license as easily as my MBA.
Yeah. I mean, so I was in property management, right? And one thing that's really big in Houston is apartment locating. So when I was managing apartments and when I was managing single family homes, I would see these checks that we were writing out to these locators and to, and I was like, man, that's like a lot of money, and it never like kind of crossed my mind. It was always something like, oh, I should get my real estate license. That would be something. But I was like, no, but I'm doing this and I love my job and I love what I'm doing. So like, why would I go get my license? And then in 2015, the company I was with was merging with another company and I was told that I was going to get laid off. And I was like, huh, okay. So I started interviewing for jobs and I started, talking to people and whatever. And it just like, it made me realize that like, I don't know how to like articulate it. It made me realize that, if you're working for a company, like in all reality, you're expendable, right? Like someone else can do your job. And that's exactly what was happening, right? It's like, there's 3 of us that can do this job and this is the person that's going to do it. The 2 of you are out, right? So I was like, okay, so I ended up working through, my last day, but prior to that, I got my real estate license. And I was like, again, I had seen, these locators and these, real estate agents that were assisting people with rentals and stuff like that. And I was like, I could totally do that. Right. And if you get paid whatever you get paid for that, I would only need to lease how many ever apartments or how many ever houses per month. And I'm like, and I could make a pretty good living doing that, leasing, say it was 5 apartments a month. Like I could totally do that. So, I got my license and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I was still interviewing for jobs. And then my husband and I like were talking about it and he was like, I think you should try that. Like, I think you should like, you know what to do. Like, all of the apartments, how the process works. Like if you can articulate that to consumers, like, I think you should try it. So, I basically took like my severance and everything that I had and I gave him 6 months worth of bills. And I said, here's my half of the bills for the next 6 months. And like, we'll see what happens. If it works, then cool. But if not, like then in 6 months, like I'll go find a job, but like I might as well try it because at no other point in time are you going to find yourself without a job and with some extra money to be able to say like, hey, I'm going to be good for a little while.
Right.
Let me take a leap. Right. Like there's never a good time to do it. But that was like everything kind of aligned to the point that it was like, if this is the time, like now's the time to do it.
What's really cool about that story is you really, when you handed your husband kind of that 6 months worth of reserves, and I don't know what the relationship you guys had as far as finances, but you really said, I'm betting on myself. I'm investing in my own business. I'm opening up Katie Day Inc. Right? I always tell people you don't work for a brokerage, you work with a brokerage because you're contractors. So you started as a leasing specialist, but when did you make the move over to the Coldwell Banker brand and the move me to Texas kind of branding underneath that? Was that just you or is that part of a bigger team?
Yeah. So my thought was, I was trying to find a domain name and an Instagram handle that were both available. So, living Houston properties, Houston, all of these things like weren't available. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm thinking too small, like, because obviously with a real estate license, you're licensed for the state. So Move Me to Texas was available. Move Me to TX was available. On, both Instagram and the domain was available. So I bought it and I threw up like, looking to rent your new apartment, whatever. So I did rentals my first year in 2016. I sold 2 homes. And then a good friend who's my broker, Lloyd Lee, got promoted he accepted the position of managing, the manager of an office. And he called me, and this was the end of December 2016. And he's like, hey, I just got promoted to manager of this office. I was like, that's cool, man. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations, whatever. And he's like, I want you to come in and see the office. And I was like, yeah, man, like it's 4 walls and a ceiling. There's people there, maybe some computers. Like, that's cool. Like, congratulations. Let's grab lunch sometime. Like, I'm not coming in and seeing your office. He's like, well, he's like, I don't have time to go to lunch, but like come by and then like we can go grab a bite, but like come by and stop in. And I'm like, I didn't even think that he was trying to bring me on. Like, I didn't understand, I was just like, I don't want to see your office. That's stupid, Lloyd, and if he's listening, he's like, yeah, stop it. So finally he wears me down. He's just like that type of guy, right? That's like, no, but just like let's grab lunch, come by, stop in, and then we can go, whatever. I'm like, okay. So I go in for lunch, and he walks me and he's like, well, let me just show you around real quick before we go anywhere.
Right.
And he brings me back and he opens the door and he knocks. He's like, hey, this is actually the current manager. I'm taking this. He's going to this office, blah, 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 whatever. But like, meet Chet. And I'm like, oh, Chet, it's nice to meet you. Lloyd's like, oh, I've got to run real quick, but you guys talk. And he closes the door. And I'm like, this is me in my like, general casual wear, right? Like, I'm like jeans and a t-shirt.
Nice.
And he closes the door. And at that moment, I was like, I'm in an interview right now. I was just like, I just got bamboozled. So 2 hours later, I left and I came home and my husband had just gotten his license. And I was like, and he had just affiliated with another brokerage. And I was like, I think I want to join Coldwell Banker. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, our buddy Lloyd, he just got promoted. I just met this guy, Chet. It's amazing. These are all the tools, blah, 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 blah. So 2017, we started the year, we joined Coldwell Banker. And yeah, 2017 was a great year. It was just, I had already been like going to Lloyd with questions and he's helping with contracts and things like that. So it just like, it made sense for us to align. But he totally bamboozled me. Like if he wouldn't have pushed so hard, I don't know what I would have been doing, but it was like, come in for lunch. And then I realized I was in an interview. So
which happened first, moving to Texas or the Coldwell Banker affiliation?
Moving to Texas has been my like email and brand from the beginning.
From day one.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the designations. Let me just read off some of these designations.
They may not all be on there.
ABR.
Yep.
That's accredited by a representative. At Home with Diversity. Certified Home Marketing Specialist. GRI, Graduate Real Estate Institute. MRP. NHC. RENE. SRS. TAHS. First Time Buyer Specialist in Texas. Texas Leadership. PSA. And probably a few more. Clubhouse Guru. Instagram Diva. Gosh, man, you have definitely spent some time and effort and money to become better. Let me ask you a question. Designations. A lot of agents say it's just letters after your name. Which one was your favorite class and which one do you use the most?
So my favorite was the Texas Realtors Leadership Program, TRLP. So that was a year-long leadership program. We met monthly and had different seminars and workshops on everything from communication to leadership skills to building a team to budgeting and kind of everything in between. It really opened up my eyes to, everything that our associations have to offer, because most people just write that off as a check, right? And don't realize like what everyone's doing behind the scenes. It really pushed me to be a better leader in the industry, be more collaborative in the industry. And, since then I've been involved in, different advisory groups and things like that. So that was by far has had the most impact and was my favorite. We also got to do a charitable project throughout the year. So that was really cool. There were 34 of us in total to like come together to support, something in our local community. So it was cool to have impact and, meet a ton of new people that like, how they'll tell you like, oh, like by the end of this, you guys will all, love each other and, be like brothers and sisters. And we're like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Like I truly could like pick up the phone and call any of them and they would be like, yeah, I'll be there. What do you need me to do? What body are we burying?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's funny. A lot of people I talk to around the country that are kind of, those rising stars, like leadership is how they get involved. They get involved and then they kind of realize that they really like it. And
Yeah.
they jump in with these people and they're like, I don't care what brand or brokerage you're from. You're a cool person. You've got some ideas. You're residential, you're commercial, you're you're rental, you're married, you're gay, you're old, you're young. It's really cool that there's just this massive, it's all there for the organization, the industry.
Yeah.
And everyone has this kind of a story. It's kind of neat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk social, because obviously that's kind of how I got to know you, is your social game. And I call it a game. It's not a game for you.
It's a little bit of a game.
Yeah, but you're kind of moving to Texas on everything. So if you want to follow Katie, let me drop a little banner in here. There you go. There's her website. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Clubhouse. You kind of do it all. Why is social? Why do you think it's worked for you?
Consistency. Like, I mean, I've done a lot. I've done a lot of bad stuff. I've done, like, I look back to my old posts back when I first started back in 2016 and 2017, and they are so cringeworthy. Like, I wish someone would have told me, like, don't post that. No one cares, So it's definitely been a journey, which I know sounds like kind of stupid when you're talking about social media, but it's definitely been a journey, and a lot of trial and error, a lot of error, but consistency. Like, I mean, I post every single day. I post stories. I try, like, we have a consistent schedule and, content, consistent content calendar.
Yeah. When you say we, who is the Move Me to Texas team? Is it just you? Is there a bunch of people behind the scenes?
Yeah. So as far as our team, my husband and I lead the team. And then we have 4 buyers agents. We have an admin team. So we have 2 transaction coordinators, a videographer, and a marketing admin, who's really just like the glue that holds us all together.
Right on. Clubhouse, kind of the newest, hottest baby in the social sphere. You've jumped on that since day one. You really enjoy it. You're good at it. You've been a moderator in a lot of different rooms that I jump into. I think maybe what some people, when they look at social and they say, like, I don't have time to do that. It's not a matter of time for you. It's just part of what you do, right? It's not even a matter of like carving out, like, okay, I'm driving here, so I'm going to jump on this. I'm going to do a video here. Tell me about Clubhouse and what you've liked about it and what you're kind of learning about how to make it a worthwhile platform for you.
Yeah. And we talked about this a little bit. Maybe that was a few weeks ago. Time moves so quickly and slowly these days. Clubhouse is interesting. I think that once you kind of sift through and find your tribe and find your people on Clubhouse, it's a really cool place to be. When I first got on, mind you, I mean, this app's been around since like April last year, but like It really kind of jumped off with the real estate community about Q4, 2020. So I found it between Christmas and New Year's, in that like awkward lull of the year where like, you want to keep doing things to be productive, but like no one's really doing anything work-wise. So like I just like dove in headfirst into Clubhouse and spent a lot of time in there. So in the beginning, it was like I like followed everyone. You follow me, I follow you back. And then I realized that like when you log into Clubhouse and you follow everyone that follows you, there's a lot of noise. So I started to unfollow people and really follow people that I thought were there to bring value and were there coming from a place of contribution and were there to, better the industry and, look to make true connections. Because there's a lot of people on there that are there to sell a course. There's a lot of people on there that are, there to just talk about them and how great they are. And, I'm all about collaboration. And, the people that, I host regular rooms with are, in different cities and states and countries and with different brokerages. And, we just want to like get on there to host rooms to like, talk about real estate best practices and things to do in, what is a very historic market, right? So like if we can offer advice and guidance to people, and get advice and guidance ourselves, like then that's kind of why I'm there at this point.
Yeah, you do a good job of including other people in the conversations, because you know that as much as you could share, you could learn from other people at the same time and then take it to another room. So let's talk about, you said the current market between you and your husband, your 4 buyers. agents, Houston being one of the largest markets in the country. You're not, it's not anything new. You're going through the same challenging market that most of the country is. Low inventory, which I call fast inventory. It's low because it's moving quickly.
Yeah.
It's not low because it's low. It's low because it's moving quickly and people can't find what they're looking for. What are you sort of feeling in your Houston market? What are you telling your buyers agents? What are you telling your clients? What are you telling agents thinking about getting in the business? What are you telling the Clubhouse audiences about how to approach day and day the current market?
Yeah, so I was actually just looking at some stats before we hopped on here. Right now, listings are 48.9% down on a year-over-year basis here in Houston. But our sales velocity is still pretty close. So it's going to be interesting to see how the year progresses. As far as, I guess, there are a few kind of groups involved there. Like as far as for our team, we are sure to try to give our clients and the buyers that my team is working with, like an accurate depiction of what's happening in the market, right? So depending on their price point, depending on their neighborhood, depending on if they're looking at new construction or resale or whatever it is, right? Like this is what you're going to need to expect, right? So if that is multiple offers, if that is, coming in over list, whatever that may be, I want to make sure that they understand that on the front end. So we've been doing a lot of like, I don't necessarily say scripting, but like practice around how do those conversations go and how do you articulate that in a way that doesn't scare people and lets them know that like, hey, we have great success, decent success, with multiple offer situations. We'll work with you to ensure that we're properly managing, expectations, that we're creating as much rapport with the listing agent as possible. That these are all the things that we're going to do before we write an offer to ensure that we're putting your best foot forward, right? I think that we've been very fortunate over the past, up until last week, that interest rates have been so low. So it's definitely adjusted. Like, if prices are going up but interest rates are low, you have a lot more purchasing power. But if we see those tick up this year, I'm not sure what conversations we'll be having. But, I think as far as advice for our buyers, like I kind of just said that we want to give them, the best outlook or the most realistic outlook of what's going to happen. We want to ensure that they understand, like, if they are in a price point where they're going to have to go above list, that, maybe we've dialed that back some and are looking at a lower price point. So there is a little bit of wiggle room. We're explaining to them what happens with appraisals. And if an appraisal comes in low, what the implications are for both them and the seller. And just, again, really trying to educate them to ensure that they understand the situation and are comfortable moving forward. Because I think that a lot of times agents aren't explaining, okay, if this doesn't appraise, this is what happens. If, it's an FHA loan, then this is what happens. If it's conventional, then that's what happens. And, I think that we work with some of the probably savviest customers that, exist with all of the information that's out there, but not all of it's, true and good information, right? So like people can do their research and people can think that they know what's happening. But I think that, we just need to ensure that we're continuing to educate them, throughout the process.
Yeah. Education's big, always has been for you, at least, it's been part of your focus. So let's talk about that next consumer, that next generation of realtors. How are you and your team earning top of mind awareness? Is it just through social? Do you do any other type of marketing and branding? So
past
clients, what are you doing?
Yeah, we do like new school meets old school. So I'm still a fan of direct mail. So we direct mail a couple farm areas, that we've, one I've been farming since I started. So that's now like 4-ish years that we've been mailing to a specific, zip code in Houston. In a non-COVID world, we used to do all of our in-person events in that same zip code. So those would be, past client appreciation events. But, we would do them in public places so that then people are like, oh, well, what's this? Who are you? And we would have conversations. So that was always fun. Obviously things changed in 2020. We did a lot more pop buys. We were dropping, gifts by our past clients' homes and different things like that. This year, we've kind of moved into virtual events. So in February, we did a virtual dumpling making class with some of our past clients that had provided referrals, that they gave referrals to us last year. So that was a lot of fun. It was fun to sit on Zoom and do something other than, talk about numbers and,
right.
All the things that you do on your virtual meetings. But yeah, so we'll see. We're kind of planning, moving into 2021, we're planning in-person and virtual events, and kind of will adjust depending on, kind of plan A, plan B, depending on how the year progresses and if it's outside or whatever, the conditions may be.
Awesome. Are you bullish on the year? I mean, do you feel like you and your team is going to have a successful year?
Of course. Yes.
Atta girl. Hey, before we get to our speed round, the famous Carp's Corner speed round, let me ask you a question, put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
Katie Day, what are your future plans? Do you want to get into leadership either with the company locally, with the company nationally? Do you want to get into leadership with the amazing Houston area of Realtors Association, Texas Realtors, National Association of Realtors? I know you're kind of you're engaged and involved on all those levels, from the neighborhoods all the way up to the national scene. Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?
Oh man, 5 or 10 years seems so far away.
Where do you see yourself in 2 months?
Sitting in the same chair doing Zooms. Right. No, so as far as bigger picture and kind of what we see, what I see, I would love to continue to serve, and whether that be at a local level or a state level or national. I think that the industry is changing in a very significant way, and real estate's not going to look the same in 5 years or 10 years as it does today. I think that as we continue to see different tech companies and money pouring into the real estate industry, things will continue to change and evolve, right? So I truly appreciate everything that our association does, especially locally. The Houston Association of Realtors, if y'all aren't aware, is I would say the best association in the country.
Yeah. Bob Hale's amazing. Yeah.
I love Bob. And just everything that all of the team does, the technology, all of the different, groups there really just do a lot. So if I can continue to be involved in that and be involved in the decisions that are being made and help to, make, I don't want to say it, to help to form the decisions and make our industry more productive and, more productive, then I would love to continue to be involved in that. As far as me, what I want to do, I think that continues to evolve and that changes on a day-to-day basis, depending on my mood. Right. But, we want to continue to brand and we want to continue to expand our brand. So whether that's, in from Houston to Austin or Dallas or whatever that may be, continue to expand that way. I think that, I want to continue to get into development and build homes. I think that something that we're seeing nationwide for sure, but definitely in Houston is a little bit of an affordability crisis. And, I want to be able to get to the point to where we can build homes, that are more affordable for buyers, because it just doesn't exist. Prices keep going up, but income isn't correlating with that. So, I was talking to one of my agents and we were like, how cool would it be if we could find land to build $200,000 houses? Cause they're just they don't exist in Houston. They do, but it's tough. Right. And, being able to kind of maybe think a little bit outside of the box in regards to that, would be really cool. So that's something that long-term would be something that, I would like to do. As far as where I see my career going, I'm not sure. I'm just trying to see if in 2 months I'll still be, doing Zooms and selling houses. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you just invested in your studio there at home. I saw your big on your Instagram story today. You bought your big 47-inch monitor or something like that. Or
yep. So it's you can't even see it fills my desk. I've got the podcast mic and yeah. So I figure I know I'll be home for a while, and if not, I can take this to the office or whatever. But yeah, right. having all this is, a good investment, I guess.
That's awesome. Okay, this has been fun getting to know you and having you share your story. Are you ready to go to the famous Carp?
I'm nervous. I'm like, oh, all right.
Speed round?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
No correct answers. Just give me your answers. I'll put them up on the screen for everybody to see. Start with, what's your favorite vacation spot?
The best vacation that I have taken was to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
it was great.
Was it kind of on a whim, or did you plan it out? Or
so I've been to Costa Rica twice. I went when I graduated college with 2 girlfriends, and I loved it. And then we went back when one of my best friends turned 30, and we stayed in an awesome house. We ate great food. There was good drinks. The beach was awesome. Like, it was just a perfect culmination of events.
Love it. Love it. All right. Next question. Favorite band or singer? Who's your go-to jam?
So this has been, I go through different stages, but I would say Outkast right now.
Okay.
It's been my morning jam in the bathroom, getting ready, dancing around, listening to Outkast.
Okay, good. Next question. Movie that you've watched the most?
Unpopular opinion. I don't really watch movies.
So maybe the movie, you're flipping through the channels and you land on it and you're like, I'll watch this again.
I would say one that I like, a movie I love is like Old School and Legally Blonde. I talked about it earlier. We'll say Legally Blonde. It's definitely not the movie I watch the most, but we'll say Legally Blonde.
Okay. All right. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Okay. So I'm actually lactose intolerant.
Okay.
This is something that's developed later in life. So mint chocolate chip would be my favorite ice cream, but now what I eat the most is mango sorbet.
Okay. I like that. I was going to say favorite ice cream flavor, unless you're lactose intolerant, and you answered that for me.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Advice from your mom or dad that you still use.
Oh, that's a hard one.
I don't know the question is, do you have children of your own?
I do not know.
No. Okay. So maybe you haven't had a chance to use a lot of the
I haven't passed it down.
But is there anything that you that jumped, maybe something your mom or dad used to say to you in your high school days or your college days that rings in your ears every once in a while?
I can't think of anything in particular, honestly. I'm gonna circle back to this and like let you know when it comes to my mind. But
okay.
I had a moment today where there was someone walking through our office and they were not picking up their feet while they walked. So they're like doing the clunky thing, and like I feel like every teenager does that to like piss off their parents. And I turned to one of the girls on my team and I was like, "Could she pick up her feet when she walks?" And then I looked, and then I like did a double, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm my mother." Like that was just like Joanne coming out of me right now.
Right.
So yeah, I pick up my feet when I walk, but there's definitely something deeper there. I just don't have it right now.
Yeah, when you become a parent, Katie, that will be, you'll hear yourself say it. You'll say, "Oh my god, I just said what my dad would say."
Yeah, I know.
All right. Well, let me know if you think of something like, "Oh, you know what? It's this."
A little bit more profound. Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Are you a pet owner?
I am. I have a golden doodle named Noodle, and she is amazing.
Nice. How old?
September, October, like 6 months old.
Wow, it's kind of
7 months old. Puppy,
still playful.
Yeah.
Still
very, very playful.
Was that a COVID gift? Was that kind of like, hey, we're home anyway, we might as well get a puppy?
Well, we're really not home that much, but yeah. So we had wanted a dog for a while, and we moved into a home in July with a yard. So that was when my husband was like, "Okay, we can get a dog now because we have a yard." So
nice, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, a couple more. What's your ideal weekend?
My ideal weekend would be eating really good food and hanging out with friends.
Okay. So not working. Good answer.
Work always comes up, but yeah, eating really good food and hanging out with friends.
Last show or series that you binge watched?
So there's this CNN special on the decades.
Okay.
And we're watching that right now. So like right now we're in the 2000s, and it basically just like recaps different things in culture. And so we watched
news and
yeah. So that's been really cool.
Okay. All right. What's something on Katie Day's bucket list?
I want to go to Australia.
Very cool.
Yeah.
To do anything like Great Barrier Reef, Opera House.
Yes. I mean, so I would love to be able to see the Great Barrier Reef, but that's like a fleeting, thing.
Right.
So I'm hoping that we would be able to do that. I do scuba dive, or I know how to scuba dive. So like that would be really cool, but I'm hoping we're able to do so before it's no longer feasible.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Last question. Katie, what does success mean to you?
success for me, I think, is being able to I don't want to say like do what you want, but have the ability to have the freedom to choose what you're doing, or choose to do what you want to do. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah. That's cool. And I think that's, Bob Dylan has my favorite, answer for success. They asked him, how much money do you need to make in rock and roll before you're considered successful? And without any hesitation, he said, what's money? A man is a success if he can get up in the morning and go to bed at night and in between do what he wants to do. And I think that's kind of the ultimate, maybe measure of success is that, how do you figure out what you like to do? And you're figuring it out each day, Katie. So it's been fun getting to know you. Any final maybe piece of advice or words of wisdom to impart to the Carp's Corner conversation crowd?
Eat your vegetables. No. No, I appreciate you inviting me on and the opportunity to hang out with you this evening. Have some fun with life. I don't know. I feel like we thank you, Patrick. We've been talking a lot with our team, and I think this is something that we kind of touched on with how crazy the market is and how everyone seems to be really busy in most markets in the United States right now. Like, I think that it's really important to think about and keep self-care in mind and having fun in life. And that's what, like, some of our team was like really stressed today, and we were, having a fun meeting, and like, you could just tell that they were like, anxious. And I'm like, I just think that it's important to take time for yourself, to have fun, and real estate should be fun. So that's what I think that, we get stressed out and, over anxious and all the things, and, take time for yourself. Cause at the end of the day, like that's truly what matters is, family and friends and, yourself.
Yeah. Good advice. Good advice. And listen, I've enjoyed getting to know you. I'll continue to get to know you on social. Remind people how they can follow you. It's right there on your screen, but they can pretty much find you anywhere at
Move Me to Texas. And that's Move Me to TX, and Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I guess LinkedIn is not Move Me to Texas. It's Caitlin Day. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, listen, on behalf of Katie, guys, just take each day one day at a time. The real estate market's challenging. It's crazy. But what we get to do is we get to help people go from one part of their life to the next each day. Every transaction is a transition for somebody. So make sure you build relationships, solve problems, and have fun. We'll be back on Carp's Corner Conversations every Tuesday, 7:00 Eastern this month, focusing on some Coldwell Banker Power Women. Next week, my friend Lindsay Listansky from our Coldwell Banker headquarters. And then we got Wendy Crane and a couple others the rest of the month. So we'll see you guys back here on Carp's Corner Conversations. For Katie, I'm Sean. Have a good day. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.